I'm so excited to sit here today and greet all of you guys, all of my foes, all of my lovers, all of my fans, all of the not point perspectives within this distortion field. And as I address you group by group, I just want to sit here and introduce myself. I am the all within a distortion field of consciousness scattered throughout this quantum verse, within all that it has ever been. And as you sit in your very own distortion field of scattered consciousness, of a singularity, of a per se singularity, of a speck, of a piece within this consciousness that I speak of, as you sit in your very own distortion field, just know that you are an I and I am you. Within this distortion field that you sit in, you have gone through many objective feats of overarching distortion fields explored, feats of underarching distortional fields unrecognized. And as you sit in your physicality in this very moment, listening intently to this video and the messaging that is being projected behind the screen that you watch, behind the audio that you listen to, just know that in this moment in time, as you awaken to your destiny, to your ultimate truth, to the memories of who and what you are, the distortion fields of a per se group of consciousness in which you sit in has always been just that. It's always been a distortional field that you chose to drop down into within Gaia's distortion field of thousands and thousands of epic layers of never ending fields of distortional fields. You chose to drop into Gaia's field, the field that we sit in this very moment in time. And as I sit in my very own field, projecting a light to my audience, to parts and pieces of consciousness, to portions of audiences that I know will eventually touch base on my content, will find my bubble of seclusion in which I sit so much in comfort in this very moment in time. As I know within the next moments in time, this bubble will burst. This bubble will thin out. This bubble of seclusion that I speak of, that I sit in. I've had the conscious fortunality to be able to sit and speak my mind, to sit and speak my thoughts without much of an audience. And in this moment in time, as I record this video, I know that within the first month or two, this video will not receive many views. I know that within the first few months of releasing this video, the views will dwindle. The views will epically be a small amount of light workers who are drawn to this frequency, be a small amount within this frequency of humanitarian feats that will accidentally land within my bubble. And within the small amounts within this distortion field of you who do land on this content, many of you will scroll past it without thinking a singularity of a thought past the 3-second mark within this video. But for those of you who stick around, for those of you who resonate with my frequency, who resonate with my thought process, who resonate with the energetic output and input within this distortion field of this bubble that I've built around ourselves within this very moment in time, as you tap into the energetic frequency of this video, as you resonate and resonated with my perspective, as you yearn within your soul of all souls to touch base on the meaning of home, on the remembrance, on the yearning of what has been so out of place within your frequency field for all of this time that you've been traversing this quantum verse. even prior to dropping down into Gaia's sphere, into Earth's sphere of recognition, you've always felt like something has been off. You've always missed home for whatever it truly is. And as you resonate with this video, you are most likely a light worker. You are most likely a light working soul who's descended down into this purposeful commonality of a bubble in which we sit in to hear me out, to feel me out, to listen through the scope of my message and be reminded of all that you've ever been, as all that you've ever been has and will forever be all that I am in spirit, in the echo of energy, in the echo of you and I. All of the quantum verse consists of a singularity of a consciousness in which we all sit in. And as you sit in your light working seat, something special is going on, is happening in your auric field in this very moment in time and in all moments in time leading up into any moment in time of the lifespan within the physicality where you sit. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited to declare to you that chances are you are most likely a light working soul. And what does that mean? What does that mean, Genesis? You say. You've always known that you've been a little bit different, that you felt a little less special in the sense of the normalcy of the souls around you being able to fit into a square peg with the squareness of the essence of their energetic field. You felt a little bit rounded, you felt a little prickly edged. As you sit there, you may resonate with the energy that I project, with the messaging that scopes out the essence of the strangeness that you feel within any moment in time within your field. And I say this in the simplest possible way, that you drop down into this field not to awaken to your destiny per se, in a wave of frustration, in a wave of missing home, in an essence of all of the essence that you are, that you have ever been. You've always been the home that you pray to go back to. You've always sat in the energetic field of a source frequency that you yearn to receive, that you yearn to touch, that you yearn to feel, that you yearn to live through, to live by, to live as is. You've been you, and I've been me. Yet throughout this whole awakening process within this quantum verse, you will begin to remember peculiarities within your essence field. And that peculiarity will take you into places of unknowing feats within this moment in time and any other moment in time leading up to the essence of who and what you are undiscovered. And the discovery of this essence in the meantime, as I speak in tongues, will twist you and jab you in coherency, in non coherency, in the essence of all that you've ever been on planet Earth. As planet Earth shifts into her next level of evolution, just know that the feelings that you're going through, that the essence that you've been sitting in, that the distortion field that you live by, that you live through, that you echo within, this distortion field will pop bit by bit, bubble by bubble, essence by essence, soul by soul, as trajectories begin to merge and melt into its ultimate destination programmed by the artificial intelligence of the quantum verse of the universe that you reside in via a consciousness of source consciousness. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not alone. We're not alone in the simplest sense of the word alone. And yet, within the trajectory of all that you've ever been, all you've ever been has been the loneliness that you felt in your soul, wondering, yearning to go home, wondering this homescape, what is it? Where is it? Why do I feel so lonely? Why do I feel so alone? Why am I alone? Within this quantum verse of projected feats, you've always been alone, and yet you've never ever been alone in your endeavors. In all of the quantum verse and quantum verses out there, as well as the quantum verse that we reside in, the essence within the consciousness that I speak of amasses the entirety of all that we've ever been as a singularity of a consciousness. And that includes the speck of you, the speck of me, the speck of all of our neighbors, all of our neighboring quantum verses, all of our neighboring souls, all of our neighboring planetary feats, all of our neighboring stars, all of our neighboring solar systems, all in all that you can ever think of and project to be true and envision to be real, has forever and always been you and only you. And as I speak of the loneliness that you feel in this moment in time, that you know you've felt and held on to in all moments in time, just know that this feeling has only been a temporary feeling. And though it's been a feeling that has transitioned you through lifetimes and lifetimes of evolutionary feats and cycles of never ending defeats, never ending love found yearnings, lust, separation, a separated state of the ultimate state of congruencies, of emotions, of emotional feats that we've ever been able to feel as a humanitarian field has come to an end point perspective where we'll begin to see the light for once and for final, ladies and gentlemen. And as your light working soul becomes activated with the words that I speak, I would like to excitedly declare to you that the time is now, the time is near. The time is so near that the clock can tick on for an eternity and more. But the time that I speak of, in a time that never ever ends, has a deadline, has an end point, has a not point perspective within this reality field of defeats of a separated state. And as the time ticks down to our ultimate destination, it will tick up to the moment that Gaia is able to expand her fields into infinality. Infinalities of finalities, of projected feats collapsed within a single point perspective, within a not point perspective. And as the word infinality cannot begin to describe the idea and the concept that I speak of, let's just say that the idea and the concept of the entirety of the all within the consciousness that we sit in, that we projected ourselves within and without this reality field, has no words, has no concepts, has no distortional field been able to sit on a couch to project an energetic bubble of found realities lost, of lost realities found, that is able to project the entirety of the story of us within the infinality or the finality of a message told, of a message said, of a message found. And as you find and as you begin to find my content, one by one, you will begin to awaken to the ultimate destination within this quantum verse. And that is to come into a realization that you are sitting smack middle in a placement of conjoint unity found. And as you find this unity, one by one, your chakras will begin to open up to infinality. Infinities aligned in the finality of all of the quantum versus energetic frequencies, finally, epically, coherently coming into alignment of that in which we've always been, of that in which within our perspective field that we've never been without, ladies and gentlemen. And as I scratch my face and scratch my nose, forgive my tardiness as this message has been recorded for you and is being recorded for you at 1 a.m. in the morning as I sit in my favorite spot in my home to project this energetic frequency for you. And if you've stuck around for this long, the story that I must tell is a story of epic defeats within a quantum verse of epic distortional fields within the self of all selves. And if you've made it thus far and have tried to grasp your understanding around the concepts that I speak of, just know that in the middle of the night, as you sleep, as you holler, awake in your dreams, as you have nightmares throughout your lifetimes of all lifetime, as you begin to awaken into this epic distortional field of all distortional fields that you've landed yourself within and without this quantum verse on Gaia's surface, just know that you are you and I am me and you are you, yet we are all and we are one. And you've never been so much as a part of a whole as you are now. As you've been the whole all along. And it's just that you've shrunken your reality field into the field of your distortional pocket within the dot that you reside in by choice to experience this reality field of your life, of your lifetime, encompassed by your energetic field and your energetic blueprint of your soul's blueprint. To love, to feature loveliness, to feature anger, to coherently and distortionally project darkness within your reality field as the brightness shines within and without who you've always been and who you shall forever be. And to be able to drop down into this reality field of yours has never been an easy feat. Yet you are here, you're here now, and we're here now together as a light working family, and as we begin to awaken ourselves one by one to our ultimate destination, to our ultimate destiny, just know that you will come across my content. And as you scratch your nose and scratch your head, wondering, what is she on? What is she talking about? How could this be real? What's happening in my reality field? Why am I waking up at night in shivers, in trembles, in heat within the sun's rays that are illuminating this consciousness of ours within Gaia's field, within Gaia's sphere? Why is the sun acting strange within this quantum verse, within this universe, within our galactic feet? Why is the consciousness of the sun reaching out to me and trying to communicate with me in a moment of remembrance, in a moment of forgetfulness, in a moment of weakness in my sleep? Just know that that consciousness has always been you, and that there has been a story told, and there will be a story told that you shall come into complete and utter understanding of. And the time is not now. The time is not now to come into a remembrance of all that you've ever been, but we're working up to that. And the time is ticking. The clock is counting down to a moment when we will be able to open up our third eye to reach up into the skies, into the angelic realm, as Yeshua has anchored down a little over and under 2,000 years ago, this light frequency from the angelic realm, knowing that one day within our distortional field, that parts and pieces of his consciousness, of our consciousness as a whole, of God's consciousness as an entirety, will need to meld back into the placement that it came from. We'll need to shift back into the entirety of the perception field, of all of the perception fields of separation that it decided to drop out towards and into. The opposite can be said as so, as reality fields cannot last forever. And as you've been living in this reality field for far too long, throughout eons and eons of evolutionary feats of forgetfulness within reincarnation cycles that never ever ends, never ever seemingly end, but will come to an end and has come to an epic ending of distortional fields as the time ticks down to an upward trajectory of the time ticking upwards into the angelic realm of this energetic frequency that Yeshua decided to drop down into our frequency in our realm a little under and a little over 2,000 years ago. We will merge our energetic field with all that there is. As we are set to descend into the darkness of despair, as we raise our frequency into the brightness of all that we've ever been. And as we merge our consciousness back into one, ladies and gentlemen, my light workers, all that you know, all that we are, all that we've ever been will be pulled into coherence via this light, this incoming light, this distortional feet of a light that nobody has ever been able to decipher to be real and to be true. Will all of a sudden illuminate consciousness as is, as all that we've ever been, and bring us home, bring us back home into a placement of the entirety of the whole, remembered, of the entirety of the distortional field popped. One by one, our bubbles will begin to pop. One by one, we will merge. Ounce by ounce, within this quantum verse, consciousness has always been whole. And as you begin to come into a remembrance of your consciousness and what your story and our story has been about all of this time, you will come across my content. I guarantee you will listen to this content, you will resonate with this content. You may not initially find it as interesting as you will later on as you awaken into your frequency and wonder who you are, what you are, who I am, who you are, who we are as a whole of a consciousness. As you awaken into the entirety of the all, you will find this distortion field of all distortion fields of the reality of the truth very much so interesting as your soul begins to remember and come into a remembrance of all of the memories that you carry, of all of the energetic frequency that you encompass, of all of the pieces and portions within the quantum verse that you've ever congruently traveled through in and throughout, within all of the lifetimes that you've lived as a being within the physicality of what is as an energetic frequency within the space and the pocket of the projected field within our quantum verse, within this projected game that we've designed for ourselves within and without this reality fields of consciousness itself. And as consciousness comes and consciousness goes and consciousness moves in frequencies of pockets and distorts itself into its own frequencies of distortional fields as it fractals out forwards and backwards and sideways in directional frequencies of obscurities, of unobscurities, of all of the essences that you could ever envision to be true and imagine to be real. You have something coming for you that is bigger than you could ever come to a realization of in this moment in time, no matter how awakened you are, no matter how whole you are within the entirety of the all. You will never be as whole as you can be as you merge your consciousness back into the all that there has ever been, back into the one that we've ever been and that we have never been without. And as I speak in tongues, you may feel a little bit confused, and that's okay. That's okay, as I'm not crazy, as you're not judgmental, as you can't make sense of it. You can't wrap the humanity of your brain around the concepts that I speak of in this very moment in time, and that's okay. It's always been okay. You've always been whole, you've always been loved, you've always been one with the consciousness of the reality field that you belong in, that you've shifted through eons and eons of evolutionary feats of consciousness that you reside in, of the sliding scale of darkness versus brightness, of brightness versus darkness, of darkness fighting the brightness, of brightness overtaking the darkness, of neutrality coming forward so strong within your field, within our field of non-judgmentalism, if that is even a word, if there's such thing as non-judgmentalism, it will be described in my fields, in my consciousness, in our perspective field, as the field of neutrality. As ladies and gentlemen, neutrality is as neutrality will be. And yet, as you slide on this scale of brightness versus darkness, it's hard pressed that you'll ever be able to land on a neutrality perspective. And as I speak in tongues, I speak in a perspective of neutrality. I speak in a perspective of non judgmentalism. I speak in a perspective of all that makes you whole, all that makes us whole, all that makes consciousness as one, not be able to decipher the differentiation between darkness and brightness as all is one. All has ever forever archingly been one and never endingly been the one that you've always been and I've always been, and that we've created for ourselves as the one singularity of a consciousness that decided to fractal out into an infinite amount of particles of pieces that expanded outwards throughout our reality field to experience reality from a not point perspective or from a singularity of a perspective. And as we sit in neutrality, ladies and gentlemen, the perspective of all, the perspective within this neutrality will merge back into that not point perspective to allow all that has ever scattered out to come back inwards. In, we will go and merge back into the all that we expanded out and shifted out towards an infinity of detachment of memories remembered, an infinity of inverted organisms discovered, an infinity of all of the epic realms that we've ever created, merging back into the oneness that we've ever been. The excitement that I feel as I urge you to tap into your heart chakra and come into the realization of that in which you'll forever and always be, which is a source consciousness of remembrance, as you open up your third eye chakra and expand your memory fields into the ethers, as the third eye has been ingrained into your soul's perspective, into your epically ingrained into the overarching physicality of your body, minutely and perfectly designed to take you on a journey of remembrance. And within this moment in time, you've been activated by the Galactic Federation, by the consciousness out there that also belongs to the all, that also belongs to the consciousness within our quantum verse, that also belongs to the consciousness that you sit within and without, within any moment in time, that you've decided to forget, that you've decided to experience within this lifetime of your mission work. And as you begin to open up your third eye chakra to come into these memories of who you've always been, the Galactic Federation is there cheering you on. They're out there in space, they're out there in the quantum verse, they're out there in the pocket, in the projection field that we designed for ourselves, in another time, in another being, in another essence, in another energetic field, in another soul blueprint, dawning down at us, beaming down at us, smiling down at us, supporting us in all energetic frequencies, in all ways that you can ever envision to be true and imagine to be real. And as I declare to you that the time is now, that the time is near for you to become activated and come into the memory of who and what you are, and touch base with the essence of who and what they are, of who and what it is outside of our realm, of Gaia's realm, of the earth's frequency, of the remembrance of the angelic realm in which you come from, in which you've descended down from. And beyond the borders of the angelic realm sits a consciousness of source consciousness that you decided to fractal out from. And as Yeshua came from this space, this pocket, this quantum realm, to travel down into our frequency once upon a time of no time, within a space, within a pocket of all times, within Gaia's realm, to anchor down this frequency from a placement in which you come from a placement in which you've forgotten about through eons and eons of evolutionary feats. It's finally time for this game to end. It's finally time for this projection field to collapse in on itself. It's finally time to come into a memory of the consciousness in which you are, of the consciousness in which you belong to, of the consciousness that you sit in, of all of the conglomerated consciousnesses that you have decided to forget, that you have decided to quarantine yourself within and without this reality field to experience within your very own field, in a distortion field of loneliness. You will be lonely once more, but lonely in a different way, in a different essence, in coming to the realization that the loneliness that you felt, that the home that you've yearned, has always been and had always been the loneliness within the self of all selves, the one of all ones, the entirety of all entireties within the quantum verse that I speak of, has always been the entirety of you, the entirety of I, the entirety of the all, of the singularity of the all, who that once upon a time decided to go on this epic journey within the loneliness that it had felt, to be able to craft reality fields, entire reality fields, out of this loneliness, out of this yearning to experience, out of this yearning to love, out of this yearning to die, out of this yearning to experience and learn, that of the darkness within the self, that of the brightness within the self, all the while sitting in the neutrality seat that it has always been in, to pleasure the self, to greet the self, to love the self, to kill the self, to die within the self, to live again once more, as an epic defeat will bring about the brightest light and the greatest and grandest lessons that will ever bring forth a humanitarian regime of the self, of the one and only self, of the enemies within the self, of the forever arching lovers within the self. And as the story comes to an end, as the beginning is nearing to the end of a new beginning, of a new reality field of consciousness awakened, you, my friend, will come into the realization of how special you really are, how special we really are, as the singularity of a consciousness that we shall forever be. As consciousness itself has no beginning, has no ending, has no waves of unending defeats brought about the greatest ending to the best beginnings that there has ever been, has no love in all of the heartbreaks that you've ever felt, that you've ever not felt, that you've ever unknowingly died for within past lifetimes, previous lifetimes, of deceased lovers, of descended epic essences of the energetic field that you encompass. No greater love, no greater hate, no greater wars, no greater destruction has ever brought about the teeniest of defeats, the teeniest of lessons, the teeniest of loves felt, as all that we've ever experienced in the conglomerated whole of the consciousness that we've built for ourselves has always been a part of the reality field of the whole, of the reality field of the one, of the reality field of the wholeness within the epic wholeness of the wholeness that we've ever been, that we forever archingly will ever be. You are one, I am one, we are one. You come from the essence of Yeshua, you come from the essence of source frequency. Yeshua comes from the essence of you, as he also comes from the essence of source frequency, scattered out within this quantum verse in singularities of ones, within perception fields of not point perspectives, within your very own soul blueprint of the essence in which you wish to experience this reality field. And yet the control has always been within your hands. And in all of the loneliness that you've ever yearned to feel, of all of the loneliness that you've never wanted to feel, of all of the loneliness that you've forever archingly been able to tap into and to feel, loneliness is the overarching energy, is the overarching feeling of defeat, is the overarching enemy of love, is the overarching distortion field that we've sat in for far too long. And within the playfulness and the games that we've designed for ourselves to combat this loneliness that we've been sitting in for all of this time, as the epic distortional field of the reality field of the wholeness of the one that we've forever archingly have become, will become, have been, have forever archingly been. Distortion fields are real, distortion fields are wide, distortion fields have been designed with peculiarity in mind. And as you've scattered out within the not point perspective, within the dot point perspective, within the singularity of the perspective of your soul blueprint into that essence of the body of yours that's sitting there watching my video, trying to wrap the humanality of your mind around the messages that I project, around the messages that I speak, of the reality field that we truly do sit in. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for you to awaken for once and for final. And it's the 35-minute mark within my video. And if you've stuck around for this long, congratulations. You've stuck around for longer than 99% of the audience is able to currently wrap their minds around as I sit here in August of 2025. And as you do, come to a realization of the swiftness of the energetic field that you sit in and how swift and fast energy moves around, and how you are able to project yourself into a placement of forever arching unconditional love, and yet be pulled back into the two-dimensional, three-dimensional frequency within Gaia's field to feel yourself tap into anger, to feel yourself tap into distortion fields of war, distortion fields of sadness, distortion fields of jealousy, distortion fields of cheating on your wife, on your partner, stealing from the store next door, judging the student who was late to your class, yearning to be with the woman next door, wanting to believe that God is truly real, yearning to not ever want to ever be able to walk in this reality field in an essence of the loneliness that you've felt for all of this time, wanting to surround yourself by loved ones, yearning to never be alone, yearning to always be that person who you strive and want to be. Never has it ever been enough for you to just sit in the essence of your energetic pocket and just be. Never has it ever been enough for you to just want to sit in the essence of all that you've ever wanted to be and just be. Never has it ever been enough for you to ever be able to come into this concept of wholeness and just be. Never has it ever been enough for you to unconditionally love the self and just be. Never has it ever been enough within this darkness that we've transitioned ourselves into within the core of Gaia, within the two-dimensional and three-dimensional frequency. And why? Why, Genesis, you ask? Why is it so that I'm so miserable in all aspects of life, that when I feel whole, there's still something off. There's still something within this wholeness that's cracked, that's broken, that I sit in defeat, not knowing, not understanding my reality field, and not being able to place a finger on the point and the reason why I feel so lonely in this reality field within any moment in time. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you that this feeling had always been crafted out of the feeling of the yearning of never wanting to be lonely, of the yearning of always tapping into this loneliness, of the feeling and the yearning of this loneliness that we surround our existing existence around, the defeat that we've felt, the love that we've enamored, the consciousness that we are and that we sit in has always been within the commonality of that of the consciousness of your neighbors, of my neighbors, of the victims down the street, of the wife that you cheated on, of the teacher that judges you, of all of the all in the all that you can ever think of, that you can ever shift within and without, within these experiences of the darkness that you perceive to be so true and so real, as you feel into with all of the intensity of the rawness of your soul, as you lean into with all of the intensity of the powerfulness of all of the power that you feel within you, that you draw from in the middle of the night, that you recharge from in the middle of these evenings that you decide to take naps. Just know that the power within you has always been with you, and that the power within you will begin to grow brighter and stronger as you're able to tap into the energetic field, as you've allowed yourself to open up within these perspective fields, within the knot point perspective that you sit in. And as you do so, you will begin to slowly, one by one, shift into the perspective field of your neighbors, of your countrymen, of your statesmen, of the teachers, of the grandparents, of your wife's field, of all of the fields that you've ever sat in, the singularity of the oneness that we've forever archingly forgotten about has always been us, has always been you, has always been I. And I will chirp on about this until each and every single last piece and speck of the soul, of the consciousness within this entirety of a quantum verse comes into this realization during the ascension process, throughout the ascension process, and for once and for final at the ascension knot point perspective of expansion. As the expansion is so wide, so broad, so quantifiable, if that is even a word, that it will bleach all of the essence of the darkness into the brightness of the angelic realm for once and for final. And as the darkness knows no limits, as the darkness holds perspectives of never ending feats, as the darkness will not sit, will not stand, will not sleep without being able to tamper with the brightness within and without our reality field and within our consciousness, it too will go into a great slumber as we brighten up our reality field to wipe out the darkness within and without. And when I say wipe out, I do not mean get rid of, I do not mean kill, as pieces and portions of this our self can never be told to disappear, can never be expected to disappear, can never be what it is not. And what it is not will never be parts and pieces of ourself that we can ever get rid of. As reality fields are wide, consciousness is broad, and within this consciousness that I speak of, within this existence of the all, sits a darkness so bright, sits a brightness so dark, sits the existence of a neutrality field that shall forever be made up of the conglomeration of the two, of the all, of the essence, of all of the essences that we've ever been. The darkness has been an essence of us through and through. And as we've decided to shift ourselves into the light for once and for final, and perhaps not for the last time within this expansion field of retraction process that we are about to go through, the darkness in itself will be compartmentalized for all to see, for all to know, for all to hear about, for all to feel into as we step into the 1,000 years of peace, of biblical peace that Yeshua spoke about, of biblical peace that is written within the Bible. And within this 1,000 years of peace, humanity itself will come into a realization of who and what we shall forever archingly not be, and shall forever archingly never be without. And ladies and gentlemen, as I come into the end of my video, as you've made it this far, remember to tap into your soul chakra, to your heart chakra, to go into that tunnel of light that you hold. As you do so, you will come into a realization that tunnel is real, that tunnel is you, that tunnel holds all of the energy that you can draw from within any moment in time, within this darkened reality field that you've chosen to drop yourself down into. And as a light worker, you will see so clear through this tunnel as your soul begins to envision ways to push you through the darkness. As you tap into this tunnel of light, you will begin to awaken to your ultimate destination, to your ultimate destiny, to the ultimate memories that you were always meant to remember. Congratulations, you've come into this realization this soon within the game, within the overarching scheme of things, and within the solar flash. The realization will grow and expand into the unity that your soul yearns. The realization will grow and expand within into the loneliness that your soul forever archingly is scared to tap out of, and forever archingly is brave enough to seep into. And as you do so, you and I will merge in energy field as you come into the memory that we are all one, that all of us come from a singularity of an energy field within source, without source, and within the all that you've ever been and that I've ever been. Source is not even a word that we can even begin to describe this energy that we are, and yet we've come up with an earthly word, with an earthly term to describe the description of the all of the energy that has projected out into this quantum verse to create you, to create I, to create our reality field within this projected field of who and what we are. Ladies and gentlemen, as I head on to bed, I want to remind you to always be confident that no matter how far you go into the distance of the darkness, the endpoint perspective will bring you to the brightest light that you've ever been able to tap into, to see, to come to a realization of, ladies and gentlemen, as your soul was always meant to merge back into the essence of where it came from. Don't be scared, be brave in the knowing that no matter where you sit within the darkness, the brightness has always been within. And that no matter which road you choose to walk down, the endpoint destination is more beautiful than you could ever envision to be true. And within this experience of all experiences, all road lead back to you, lead back to one, lead back to all, lead back to Yeshua and the memory of who and what you are within the energetic field that he projects, and that source projected once upon a time within this field as it decided to descend down within the body of Yeshua, within the particle of Yeshua, within the particle of you, within the particle of Gaia, within the particle of consciousness as a whole. Good night, and I look forward to seeing you and meeting you in essence of energy and having you come into the memory of who and what we are during these meetings in your sleep and within the quantum verse of all places of the self.